Thank you very much. I'm so excited to get to present Mattersight's newest product to you, WorkStyle, today. WorkStyle is unlike any other training and development application in the call center industry, and in a moment, I'm going to show you why. So let's dive in. Frank showed this slide earlier, and I don't want to belabor the point, but to say this. This is because of you guys and the work that you have invested in personality science and emotional connections. The work that United Health Group and CVS and TriWest and Hilton has done over the years has really galvanized the analyst community to take notice and to care about something that's really, really important to the customer experience, and that is creating these emotional connections. So it's never been easier to build a business case around this, thanks in large part to the work that you guys have done as well. We have found, I'm going to move away from that microphone. We found that a couple of interesting things. One is, if we look at your data, there's a 40-point swing in optimizing your KPIs between an agent's best personality match and their worst personality match. And Christy did a masterful job of explaining that in her presentation earlier today. In addition to that, CEB has done a ton of research in this space, and they found a couple of things that are quite alarming. Number one is, how a customer feels about how they were served matters twice as much as what actually happened in that service interaction. And the second thing they found is that any call center interaction drives 4 times more disloyalty than loyalty. So Rick DeLisi from CEB tomorrow is going to come up and talk about how the call center has become the factory of sadness, which is kind of a depressing term for our industry. One of the ways to engineer the sadness out of the factory is to work on the factory workers, right? We are dealing with these historically low engagement rates amongst employees. I mean, the average attrition rate in the call center is upwards of 43%. So that means we are churning our workforce, our entire workforce, every 2 years. How is it possible to build any kind of consistency or culture when you're replacing your workers every 2 years? So what we want to talk about today is a way to build a more engaged employee community, a happier employee community, and one that is better tooled up and skilled to deal with the onslaught of customer calls that they're getting every day. So we're going to demonstrate WorkStyle for you here in a moment. WorkStyle, as I mentioned, is a lightweight training and development application built for today's call center worker. Today's call center worker is a lot different than the call center worker of 10 years ago. Today, you are faced with an onslaught of millennials and soon-to-be Gen Zers taking over those positions. And they simply learn in a different way than folks like me who were born in the 70s learn, right? It's not about classroom learning. It's about this interactive, over time, fun learning. And so what we're doing with WorkStyle is we're really just tricking the users into learning through a series of fun games. And I'm going to explain and show you these games here in a moment. So what I'm going to show you in this demonstration is, number one, the agent comes into WorkStyle and they take a brief 15-minute personality assessment. Now, this is different than the original PPI that some of our legacy behavioral analytics customers have taken. We've engineered 50% of the effort out of the process. So it's down to 20 questions, takes about 10 to 15 minutes to take, and we've done that with 99% accuracy in terms of the results. So we've gotten a lot better at serving the employee something that's easier for them to use. Outside of that PPI, that personality inventory assessment, they will receive a 5-page glossy readout about their personalities. They can print it out, put it on their cue ball, share it with a family member. They then are encouraged to go learn about some of the other personality styles. There's a bunch of very rich reference content available to them that's very sort of pop culture influenced. The real heart and soul of the system, though, is gaming. We then encourage the user to go spend 5 minutes a day taking quests and quizzes and playing games to help them build personality acuity. So WorkStyle was really inspired by Lumosity. How many of you guys have ever played Lumosity before? Right. So it's a super fun brain training application. You want to remember someone's name, you go spend 5 minutes playing a memory game, and over time, that boosts your mental acuity. Well, similarly, with WorkStyle, we've built a series of games, quests, and quizzes to help your agents boost their personality acuity, with the ultimate goal of helping them better identify, understand, and connect with the personalities around them in the workplace, around them at home and on the phone when they're talking with customers. So they're going to be playing these games. They're going to be earning points. Those points will make them eligible for in-app rewards. Hey, get these many points in the next week and you get a $15 Starbucks gift card or first pick of shift. You can then see yourself in how you rank in a leaderboard against your peers. And then finally, from an administrative standpoint, executives can come in and look at whether this is actually working. Are agents engaging as witnessed by the points that they're accumulating through these disciplines? And is that having an impact on the operational metrics? So we can integrate to your routing instance or your CTI so that we can actually look at individual agents and their work with personality styles. And are they gaining points by learning this personality style? And does that have an impact on them driving their talk time down or driving their sales rate up? So I'm going to do something right now that no software person in his right mind should ever do. And that is a live demonstration. This has crippled people such as Bill Gates at CES. So bear with me here, and we'll see if we can make this work. Security brought to you by Mattersight. Excellent. Okay, so for the purposes of this demo, my name is Jane Hall. I'm a customer service rep for Signature Health. I just took the PPI. Okay, I just took my personality assessment. It took me about 10 or 15 minutes. And the first thing that I see is that I'm a connector, and my superpower is relationships. So what we've done with the personality labels is we have adjusted them. It's all the same personality science that our legacy Mattersight customers have worked with, except we've put a sort of a marketing sheen around that. And the reason we've done that is a couple things. One, we wanted to engineer the judgment out of some of the legacy personality style names. So terms such as opinions sometimes can be challenging for people because that person becomes known as an opinionated person. Or emotions, oftentimes you can be criticized as becoming emotional. We don't want that to happen. We want this to be something that agents embrace, that they celebrate, that they wave a flag saying, I am a connector and my superpower is relationships, which is formally known as an emotions-based person. So each of these styles has its own color scheme, font, iconography, and superpower. We think that's really, really important to getting the agent community to embrace this and want to share it. So I, Jane, just learned that I am a connector. The first thing I can do is watch a brief instructional video.
Hello. Your work style personality assessment indicates that you are warm, sensitive, and caring at your core. You genuinely care about and like to be with people. In the work style world, that makes you the connector. There are 6 work style
So we have about an hour's worth of instructional video content like this, chunked up into 4 to 5 minute segments to serve really as reference material for the user. If you're not so much into video, you can scroll down and see what your personality style is, what your strengths are, what your distress triggers are, what your psychological needs are, and scroll even further and then see how all 6 of the Mattersight personality styles are ordered and weighted for you across the spectrum. So I, as Jane, am a connector at my core, but I have the least amount of natural energy to apply to the doer and the advisor personality styles. So that might indicate to me just right off the bat that those are some customer personas that I might need to train on so I can optimize the KPI that I'm looking to optimize for, whether that's a higher collection rate, a higher sales rate, a lower talk time. I can print out my PDF. One of the things that we found in doing this is that consistently the feedback from the agent population has been, oh my God, this stuff is great. I love the personality stuff. It's fun, it's easy, it makes my job better, and it makes me better at home as well. I'm better able to assess why I constantly fall into this trap with my wife every night. And so we want to build on that idea, and as part of this, we're actually extending to the agent the ability to invite a spouse or loved one to take their personality assessment and get their 5-page readout as well, so that they can sit down at the dinner table at night and literally compare notes. Okay, so I have the least amount of capacity for the advisor and the doer. Let's go over to the doer and do a little reference content building. Okay, so I can watch a little video about the doer. Let's just watch a brief clip on the doer. Doer's superpower is resourcefulness, by the way.
These adaptable, persuasive, charming colleagues prioritize action above all. Make it happen, bottom line it for me. If they were to wear a t-shirt with their motto on it, it would either be Carpe Diem or just do it. Resourcefulness is the doer's superpower, and taking action is key to who they are. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you.
So the doer for CVS and UHG and TriWest and Hilton is the actions-based persona. So you can imagine that the connector and the doer both have the exact same business problem, and they call you, and they express it entirely differently, and they have an expectation that you're going to handle that problem in the way that they've expressed it. That really gets at the heart of what we're trying to do with WorkStyle, which is to train the ear of the customer service worker to train them on empathy, right? How do you listen for these different personality clues and make subtle adjustments to create better outcomes? So I can learn more about the doer by reading some of this reference content. In your business, how to persuade or manage conflict. We have very actionable tips here. And then finally, in terms of the reference content, what are some pop culture figures that, as you begin to train the employee base on how to listen for these personality advertisements, they can then say, oh my God, I'm talking to a Trump. I know how to adjust my behavior on this call to meet the expectations of a Trump, which is totally different than the expectations of perhaps one of the other styles. So the heart and soul of this really is the gameplay. So let's talk about that. We really wanted to move away from this notion of traditional classroom training, command and control training, and into something that is really self-taught, that is fun, that takes place not throughout a day in a conference room, but 5 minutes a day across 2 or 3 quarters. And so we've built thousands of different quests, quizzes, and games. They're served on a carousel. They're different every day that you log in. Different types of styles that we'll train on, different types of game mechanisms that will deliver that content in. So I'll show you a couple of brief ones. The first one is a lightning round game. So this is going to ask me, in 1 minute, are these phrases something that an advisor would say? An advisor in the old terminology is an opinions-based person. So I'm going to be asked right now, I've got my clock ticking down from 1 minute. The high score in the company is 15 in that 1 minute. No need to make a mountain out of a molehill. Is that something that an advisor would say? Craig? Oh, Craig. We'll have to talk. We'll have to tutor afterwards, Craig. Wow, I can't even. Is that something an advisor would say? No. The unexamined life is not worth living. They gave me a card that thanked me for my dedication to the team. I may have shed a tear. So you get the idea. You're going to be, in 1 minute's time, asked, is this something that this customer persona would say? And as you sort of continue to answer these questions correctly and incorrectly, you're going to train yourself over time. So typically it'll take a quarter to 2 quarters to start building that muscle mass. And then what you want to do is at that point start going back to the operational metrics to see if you're actually moving the needle in addition to sort of earning these points. So that was an example of a lightning round game. Another type of game is an empathy game. So we will present you with a series of questions, true or false questions, multiple choice questions, audio questions. So as part of our analysis of this mountain of phone calls, this 1.3 billion phone calls, we've pulled out the golden clips, right? What is the best way of an advisor showing their distress? Or what is the best way of a service agent overcoming the distress of an advisor? How do you open a call with this personality? Or how do you ask for the sale with this other personality? So we'll give you a set of questions. I'll quickly bring up here a audio clip. Okay, where would you focus your empathy in your response to this advisor caller?
Hello. I definitely have a problem here. And I don't know, the last time I spoke to someone, I talked to a supervisor, and he handled it, and he took care of it, but it seems that every person that I call, the last person that I talked to just before hung up on me.
Okay, so there's two problems here with this advisor. One is there's some underlying business problem that has necessitated her to call the call center in the first place. That is not what's fueling her fire, though. What's fueling her fire is the fact that she feels that the last time she called in, someone hung up on her. And so the first thing that the agent needs to do in this case is not address the core foundational problem that the customer has. You need to put the fire out first. And so the first thing you do is you go head on and you address the hang up, right? That was wrong of us. We should not have hung up on you. You are a valued customer. I'm committed to helping you solve this problem, right? And so that's the type of learning that we want to provide the agents. 5 minutes a day, listen to some call clips, play a couple of games, and you start building that personality acuity. So let me show you my report card. If I scroll down here, it shows you my march to mastery across those 3 dimensions: identify, understand, and connect. The idea is you're never going to reach mastery because we're constantly adding new content to the system and making it really fresh and engaging for the user. On the right side of the screen, you see my report card by customer personality style. So as a connector, Jane's doing really well. 97% of her connector questions she's answered correctly. However, her dreamer, her advisor questions are in the DF range, right? She's doing really poorly with those. So, you know, that advisor thing keeps coming up. She has very little natural bandwidth to apply to the advisor caller, and she's consistently answering those questions incorrectly. So, you know, that would suggest to us that we need to go work on, with Jane, her advisor calls. You can further, by integrating with our routing engine or your CTI, you can correlate that then with the call outcome. So in this case, a service environment, what's the handle time by customer personality style per agent, as a means of really focusing the agent and the supervisor on specific learning pathways that they need to put in place to boost overall performance. And then finally, I'll show you just from an analytical standpoint, let's go look at the organization. So what you're looking at right here is a leaderboard of all of the folks in my organization ranked by the 7-day most improved. So it's a dynamic leaderboard. I can see the high scores, who's had the best training streaks, who's last trained. I can slice and dice this by employee personality style. Just show me the organizers. Or I can go look at individual department metrics. Here's where the fun comes for the executives and administrators of this program. You can then go in and look at overall performance metrics. So what are the company stats? You know, what's been the growth in points over the last week? And who's got the highest score versus the average versus the lowest score? What percentage of the organization has assessed? They've taken that personality assessment. What percentage of the organization has actually trained this week? And then you can see by department, which are the leading departments, which are the laggard departments, which are the most understood personality styles versus the least understood personality styles. You can look at that by team and then dig into individual team statistics. So we've built hierarchy into this so that we can understand you know, from an individual contributor up to a supervisor to a site director, and slice and dice the analytics that way, and then see how individual folks are performing within that team. So that is the demo. I made it through unscathed, so you will see me at the bar this evening having an extra drink, celebrating that. I think I've got one more slide here, which is just, you know, we have a program in place with Trust Radius, which is the Yelp for software companies. And we've solicited reviews from a lot of your employees about how they like working with this stuff. And they really, really like the personality science stuff. It just makes their job easier. And so I would encourage you to find us to talk more about how we could bring WorkStyle, which is a super lightweight, turn it on today application into your environment and drive a business case with it.